Hi everyone, it's Steve here from Other Way Round Travel. So I'm out having my morning walk and I thought it could be a good opportunity to just stick on a video and go through some of the most common questions we get asked about our trips in order to provide you a little bit more context from in addition to what you see on the website, and hopefully it can help you a bit in your decision making process. So I hope you enjoy, and here it goes. It's a little bit sunny, maybe I should have put on my sunglasses. Okay, the first thing we tend to get asked, like the big question is, okay, I've read your website, I really love the kind of idea or the concept, but can you just tell me a bit more? How does it all work? So the way I would break it down is, obviously we design and we run these trips in the 20 something countries that you see on our website. So we take care of everything from the point you land into that country, but you would still book and pay for your own international flights to get there. So we would still help to recommend those flights for you if you tell us where you're located, but generally you would still reserve and pay for those yourself. And then our trip pretty much covers everything you need from the point you arrive. And I'll cover like what does that pretty much mean a little bit later. But basically from the point you land into the country, we will have a driver standing there with a sign, holding a sign with your name on it. They will take you back to the hotel, the first hotel of the trip. And we will have people, because we have people coming from different locations, we will have people arriving in at different times, either on the first day, or some people will maybe come a little bit earlier. You will meet everyone. We'll have a WhatsApp group going before the trip anyway, but you will kind of be chatting to people in advance. And then on the first day, we will get the tour leader around 6 p.m. on the first day in the hotel. We'll get everyone together and do a bunch of introductions, talk you through the trip a bit. And then from that point forward, you really don't have to think about anything else. That's the whole point, right? The whole point is we're doing everything for you. So you have to get yourself there, and then we are creating an environment where you don't have to think about anything, you don't have to do anything, and there's a bunch of kind of fun, friendly people there to enjoy the travels with. And that's overall, that's kind of how it works. Okay, so the question I know everyone really wants to know is, who else is coming on the trip? What are the demographics? And the answer is, it's really what we say on the website, right? So these trips are very specifically designed for solo travelers in their 30s and 40s. So that means from 30 all the way to 49. And that's what we get. It's exactly what we get, right? So pretty much everyone in the trips is going to be traveling solo. Sometimes someone will bring a friend along, but mostly 90% of the people will be traveling solo. You're not going to turn up to a group of people who already know each other. We have, in terms of the age range, we have people who span that full range from 30 to 49. Again, if you're 30, you're not going to be on a group where everyone is late 40s. And if you're late 40s, you're not going to be on a group where everyone is 30. It doesn't work like that. Like, we always get people across that full spectrum in that age range, which means you're always going to have like at least a few people around your age. And we've done these trips enough, like we've done hundreds of them, that the groups always come together, right? We've kind of filtered it enough that everyone coming is traveling solo, they're looking to meet other people, and they're within a very similar ballpark of age, right? So you don't really need to filter it much more by trying to work out the exact dynamics of who's coming, because I've been on lots of the trips where we have slightly different makeups and they always go well. The groups always come well together. In terms of where people are from, primarily from the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, but we do get people from everywhere, and we're very open to getting people from everywhere. And for me, that's a big part of it as well. It's not just about finding out and learning about that new destination. It's about all the different cultures that we have together on the tour, and meeting new people from different countries on the tour as well. That's a massive part of it. What else on demographics? So definitely, if you look at the pictures on the website, you'll see that it's definitely a bit more female heavy. It currently splits around 70% female, 30% male. On certain trips we'll get more males, maybe the more active trips like Peru or Argentina, Vietnam, but yeah, it's definitely a little bit more female heavy. We wish we would get more guys. If you're a guy watching this, you should come. You will absolutely love it. But that's just who tends to book, and I think it's the same for most travel companies in this kind of generation tend to be a little bit more female heavy. But my overall message on the dynamics is, having done these trips so many times, the fact that we've already filtered for solo travelers within this age range, everyone is at a very similar stage of life. Everyone is coming with an open mind, looking to meet new people, which means the groups always kind of gel. Now, if you're with 15 people, are you going to become best friends with every person? Probably not. But you'll always find your people, right? You'll always find at least a few people on the tour who you tend to click with. And I've seen it happen so many times. So I know it's kind of nerve-wracking to come on a trip with a bunch of people you don't know. But if you can just push yourself beyond that fear, I'm sure you're going to walk away with a bunch of like new friends, or at the minimum, just a bunch of people that you really enjoyed having a good trip with. What is the price of the tour? So if you're struggling to find the price, it's definitely there. It's definitely on the website. If you go to whichever trip you're more interested in, click on that page, go to the bottom of the page, or even if you're at the very top of the page, there is a button that says prices and dates. Click on that, or just scroll down and you will see that we have the price for that trip in, I think, 4 or 5 different currencies. So yeah, that's how you find the price. They're definitely there on the website. Okay, so what is included in the price? Pretty much everything from the point you land into the destination until you leave is included. And I say pretty much because there's a few things that we don't. So we include airport transfers, we include hotels, tour guides, all of the activities on our trips, any internal transport, whether that's internal flights, trains, buses. So all of that is included. What we don't include the international flights to get there. And then we include a lot of the food, but we don't include all of it. And it's kind of simply because when we first started doing these trips, we did include all of the food. And we just found that it was too much. It was a little bit too much to sit in a big group for breakfast, lunch and dinner every day, as you can imagine. So it's really nice to have those group meals, but we find that it works better when we have them sparingly. And then on some of the evenings, we just give you the flexibility to go off and do your own thing as well sometimes. And it's the same on every trip. We try to include at least one free day. We don't have it on every trip, but most of them we do. And it's the same thing. Like, it's really great being in the group and being on the tours, but as you can imagine, being with everyone every day can sometimes get a little bit intense. So it's good to just break it up every now and then. So we'll try normally somewhere in the middle of the itinerary to have a free day, which means you can just do things a bit more at your own pace. Now, the reality is a lot of people in the group still tend to do things together, But sometimes if we have, like, for example, 15 people, maybe 5 will do one thing, 5 will do another, 5 will do a different thing. And some people on those days, they might just decide to have a lazier day, sleep in a bit, use the hotel facilities, the swimming pool, the sauna, the spa, get a massage. So everyone kind of does their own thing on those days. But other than that, and you might have to pay for a little bit on those days, but other than that, everything's included. So the whole idea is that you don't turn up and then you have to still spend lots of money on things, and you don't need lots of spending money. The idea is that when you book the trip, pretty much everything is included within it. Which hotels do we use on the trip? So I'm sure you've gathered by now, for us, hotels are really important. So we aim typically for 4-star hotels. So I would say about 80 or 90% of our hotels are 4-star. Every now and then we will have a 3-star, just because in that location it may be quite remote or difficult to get an appropriate 4-star. But even if it's a 3-star, it'll be really nice. In some locations we're in 5 stars and they're really nice, but on average it's 4-star. And if you just look on the website, under each trip at the bottom of the page, we list the specific hotels that we're staying in during the trips. So these are the actual hotels we use. They're not just like examples, those are the ones we use. Every now and then we may have to change a hotel. That could be, for example, the hotel that particular week is booked out for a wedding, or in peak season maybe that particular hotel doesn't take reservations for groups. But again, in almost every situation we will be using that hotel, and if we're not using one of those hotels on the list, then we will always swap it out with something similar, and we will notify you ahead of the tour the updated hotel. Okay, so do we include airport transfers? So the very simple answer is yes, we include them on both sides. So when you arrive into the country and when you're leaving at the end of the tour. When you arrive in, we will have a driver standing there holding a sign with your name. It's very easy. And on the way back, we will organise a driver to take you from the hotel to the airport. And we also extend those airport transfers if you are tagging on some extra days at the start or end of the trip. We will extend the airport transfers for 2 days on either side. So if you're coming 2 days early, we will still include the transfer. If you're planning on extending your stay for more than that, we would then ask you to organise your own transfer. And the other thing is we only do the transfers to and from our hotels that we use on the trips. So if you're coming a few days early and, for example, you've booked an Airbnb, we wouldn't do the transfer to the Airbnb, but we would do the transfer to our hotel, and then you can then go from there to your Airbnb or other hotel. But other than that, yes, for sure, we include airport transfers on both sides. Okay, so a little bit about room sharing. Do you have to share a room? No. Our trips, the pricing on our trips are based on sharing a twin room. So that twin room would always be 2 separate beds. We typically stay in really nice hotels, on average 4-star. And we would always put you with someone of the same gender. So if you are a 35-year-old female, we would look to put you with another female of a similar age, somewhere around 35, 34, 36. So that's our kind of standard model, and all the prices that you see on the website are based on that. And the reason we do it that way is it allows us to bring the overall trip cost down, right? Because hotels tend to be the biggest expense, and if we can split the room cost between 2 people, obviously, you know, that's half the price, which allows us to keep the overall cost of the price down. But for sure, if you would rather stay in a private room, you will see on the website, under any trip, if you go to the very bottom of the page, you'll see we have prices for the private room, and you're basically just paying out the second half of the room. So yeah, if you prefer a private and you want to pay the extra for it, then yeah, you're very welcome to do so. Just we tend to book at least a few of these for every trip, so just get in touch to find out if we still have some available, but we normally do. So yeah, if you prefer that option, go for it. And a little bit on the room sharing. So in my experience, most roommates get along, so often roommates become like really, really great friends, but other times they just kind of coexist, right? You don't spend that much time in the room anyway, so if you don't get along with your roommate like a house on fire, if you just kind of learn to live with each other, it's normally enough. And we have very few issues with roommates, so it is a good option if you want to keep the overall cost of the trip down. But we completely get that maybe you feel like you're done with sharing rooms and that's not a thing you want to do, and if so, yes, just pay for a private room. Okay, I'm sitting down for this one. So a little bit about booking and cancellation terms. So the way it works, if you normally people email us if they want to book a trip. Typically there will be a little bit of back and forth and conversation. When you're ready to book, you just tell us and we will send you over an electronic invoice. And the way you do it is you have to pay either a £200 or a $250 deposit to reserve your spot on the trip, and then the full balance needs to be paid 70 days before the trip. So that deposit you can pay just by normal means, by credit, debit card, and the full balance you can either pay just in one go 70 days before, or if you want, we can set you up with a payment plan where we kind of break that up into smaller payments. It could be monthly, it could be however you want, really. We're really flexible on that. And then in terms of cancellation, so it's very normal, you book a trip, you're excited, and then something in life comes up where you can no longer make it. It happens all the time. When you pay your deposit, that is non-refundable. So that initial small chunk, it is quite a small chunk, and the reason for the deposit is it allows us to start planning the trip. But the deposit is non-refundable, but you can always switch it to a future trip. So if you somehow realise that you can't make the trip and it's greater than 70 days out, you just tell us and we will switch you onto a future trip. You don't even have to decide at that point which future trip it is. You just have to, you kind of tell us and we can put your deposit on hold until you're ready to decide. When we get into the 70-day mark, so 70 days before a trip, if you had to cancel between 30 days and 70 days, we can give you 50% of your money back. And when you get to, if it's between 0 and 30 days before the trip, so the month before the trip, we can't refund anything. And the reason for that is from the 70-day point is when we will start paying all the suppliers in the country where the trip is. So what happens is typically 1 year before we start reserving hotels and all the activities and the transport, but we have conditions with our suppliers where we don't have to really pay them in full until 70 days before. So when we get to that point, we're spending the money. So it's hard for us to get it back because all of those suppliers will have conditions with us to say that they don't refund within that period. This is pretty much how every tour operator operates. I'm not aware of any other tour operator in the world who doesn't have similar cancellation terms. It's just how the tourism industry works. The good news is that from the point of booking your trip with us, you should purchase travel insurance. And one of the things, there's lots of different types of travel insurance. A lot of it's to do with like medical cover when you're in the country, but a big thing you can buy is trip cancellation insurance as well. And we highly recommend from the point of booking your trip with us, especially from the point where you book your international flights, you should purchase trip cancellation insurance, because normally that will cover you for those bigger expenses if you need to somehow cancel the trip because something comes up on your side. Because yeah, we get people who book trips with us 1 year, 1.5 years in advance, so it's very normal that your life situation can change in that time, so we completely get it. So yeah, the solution to that is you buy trip cancellation insurance. So hopefully that one all makes sense. Okay, a little bit more on price, in that one of the things that people often say is, I found another company that does the same trip for half the price, or something to that effect, right? So basically, people have seen our trips, they've seen another company that on the surface looks like they're doing a very similar trip and it's significantly cheaper. So what would I say to that? I would say there's always a reason why that trip is much cheaper, right? I know the industry well enough to know that the seemingly cheaper trip is not just a company doing it much cheaper, right? There's just less included. So there's a few things we do when we design our trips. We design them around 4-star hotels. We do really good quality, high quality experiences, and we try to include pretty much everything, so that when you come on the trips, you're not being hit for lots of extra money when you come. And I think when you see those cheaper trips, there will always be trade-offs in those areas, right? So for sure, the hotels, if you're seeing something that's seemingly the same destinations, a similar number of days, and it's much cheaper, for sure the hotels are not going to be the same quality. For sure the included meals are not going to be the same quality. For sure the activities are not going to be the same quality. And probably most of the stuff is just not going to be included. Probably the itinerary is very cleverly written on the website so that it seems like everything is included, but probably what you're going to find is that the itinerary is basically covering your hotels, your tour guide, and transport to get you around. And when you're on the trip, you're going to have to pay to do most of the stuff. And that's also fine. Like if you want to do a trip where you stay in cheaper hotels and you don't eat such nice food and you're not that bothered about the quality of the activities, then that's also fine. Like there's a place for everything, right? There's also companies that are doing trips for twice the cost that we're doing them for, and they're just probably staying at even nicer hotels and probably eating at even nicer restaurants. That's just how the industry works. But for sure, when you see something that seems like it's cheaper, it's not. It's not the same thing. And I get our some of our trips are on the more expensive side, but it's just what it costs. It's just what it costs to do a trip at this standard and this level. I'm an introvert. I'm a bit worried that everyone on the trip is going to be extroverts. I personally can feel you on this one, considering myself a lot more introverted. What I would say is no, it always tends to be a bit of a balance. So we will for sure have more extroverted people, but we will have normally equally as many introverted people, and there'll be, a lot of people who fall somewhere in the middle. And it really works for the balance, because if everyone was extroverted, as we know, all the extroverted people would be fighting for attention. And if everyone was introverted, it would probably be a bit of a quiet tour. So it tends to be a spectrum. It tends to be, we'll get a mix of all of these types of people, from very extroverted to a lot quieter and introverted. And that works really well for the overall dynamic of the group. So if you are more introverted, a bit quieter, and if you're worried that that's going to be a problem, it's not. We get tons of introverted people on the trips, and yeah, again, I consider myself in that category, and I definitely enjoy the trips. Okay, so you really like the itinerary, but there's maybe one or two things on the itinerary that you're not so interested in or you can't do. For example, there is a bike tour and you can't ride a bike. My advice would be just come and skip it. We'll try to organise something else for you. But yeah, for sure, we'll find something for you to do during that time. But I wouldn't, if you're really interested in a specific itinerary and for some reason there's something you don't want to or you can't do, I wouldn't miss out on the full trip because of that, because it's just one really small portion of like a very large overall trip. So if you're in that situation, get in touch with us. We'll try to organize something, but basically everything is optional, right? You don't have to do everything. It's up to you. At the end of the day, it's your holiday, you're paying for it. If you come and you decide even last minute that you don't want to do something, that's absolutely fine. Okay, so what happens from the point that you book the trip? You pay your deposit, you book the trip. So first thing is you will get a confirmation email from us, and then as we approach the trip, we will start to send you more information. So at the 70-day mark, 7 days before the trip, we will send you something called our pre-trip information document. We will send you this via email, and this will just contain like all of the information you need to start preparing for the trip. And then as we get closer, we'll start sending you more things. So about 10 days before the trip starts, we'll send you a really detailed schedule. So kind of like hour by hour schedule of how the itinerary is actually going to happen. And then around 3 or 4 days before the trip, we will then create a WhatsApp group, and everyone who's going to be on the tour will be in that WhatsApp group with the tour leader. And that gives you an opportunity to just say hello to everyone and introduce yourself if you like before joining the tour, which just gives you that little bit of comfort before landing into the new place, that you kind of know a little bit about the people. And also, if you're arriving early, you can, through that WhatsApp group, you can start arranging to meet up with people and do various things through that. And we'll send you a little bit more information through that WhatsApp as well. So essentially, as the trip is approaching, we're sending you more and more information. But in the meantime, if you have any questions in between that, you can always email us through, and we're pretty responsive on the email, so we'll get back to you with any questions you have. Can you bring a friend? Yes, for sure. If you want to bring a friend, you are more than welcome. On our side, we will always ensure that the majority of people on the tours are solo travelers. But if one or two people would rather bring a friend, a cousin, a sister, that's absolutely fine. The only thing I would kind of say to you, for sure, if your friend wants to come, bring them along. But if your friend doesn't want to come, my big recommendation would be forget about them and just come anyway. You will probably get much more out of the trip if you come alone, because when you bring a friend, you're more likely, you're within your comfort zone, right? You're more likely to sit with that friend. You're more likely to not have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. Whereas when you come alone, you kind of have no option, right? It's a bit scary to begin with, and you probably feel a bit vulnerable. But I promise you, because I've seen it so many times, when you come alone, you just automatically open yourself up a lot more to other people, and you connect a lot more with other people, and you can kind of be that version of yourself that you may not be able to be with that same friend that you've known for 10, 20, 30 years. Somehow it's a bit easier and more freeing to kind of be yourselves in a complete group of strangers. And in my experience, the people who come alone tend to get more out of it. But that's not to talk you out of like bringing, for sure. If you want to bring a friend, yeah, for sure, bring them along. We can put you in the same room, no problem at all. can I tag on extra days, i.e. can I want to arrive early for the tour and stay a few extra nights at the hotel, or I want to stay a few extra days later. Can other way around help me organise those nights? So yes, we can help you either 2 days on either side. If it's longer than that, we ask you to organise yourself, but if you're coming 1 or 2 days early or staying 1 or 2 days later, then we can help you organise that. The price, it's not on our website, so you have to get in touch with us, because every trip, obviously depending on the hotel, the prices are a little different. So if you want to come early or stay later and you want us to help you organise that hotel, just get in touch and we will tell you what the prices are. So are you a good fit for the trip? Is the trip right for you? On this topic, my big advice is, obviously you need to be interested in the destination. I'm sure if you're considering it, you like the look of the itinerary and the destination. You have to be open to coming to meet new people. You have to be interested in that, right? Because although we're a travel company, although we put a lot of effort into designing really good activities and trips, it's really about the people. It's really about coming and meeting a bunch of new people and potentially, hopefully, making some long-term friends out of it. And if you read all of our testimonials, they pretty much all say the best thing was the group. And in my experience, having done lots of trips, the best thing is always the group. So you have to be interested in that aspect. If you're not, if you're thinking, no, I just don't want to travel this country on my own because I'm scared of it, but I hate the thought of being with a group of people, I would say this is not right for you. And it's not in our interest. Like, it's not particularly good for anyone else in the group when we get someone who comes with that mindset. So the main thing is you have to be open to meeting new people and excited by the prospect. And then aside from that, yeah, you will love it. If you come with that mindset, you will absolutely love the trips, because almost everyone does. And the only people who I've seen kind of struggle are the people who come and they're very closed off to meeting the group, and they're very closed off to getting involved. Okay, so where are we based? So officially we are a British company. We are based in London in the UK, but I see us much more as an international company, really. We have guests throughout the world. We've had guests from almost every country you can imagine. At least 50% of our guests come from North America, so it's not like you're going to turn up and everyone's going to be British. We genuinely get people from all over, and I think that really adds to the experience. That's what I want for the company, to have guests from all over. So yeah, officially British, but in heart, much more of an international company. Okay, so killer question is, why should you go on a tour with the other way around? So the first way I would answer that question is, I'm just a really big fan of tour groups in general. So if you have never been on a group tour before and you're looking at us, or I'm sure you're looking at other companies as well, I would just encourage you to take the leap of faith and go on whichever tour you're most interested in. And I'm sure whoever you go with, you're going to have a great time. So I've been on lots of group tours with different companies, and I've always really enjoyed it. They're always fun, always. So then why us? So I'd say that the big thing that separates us from most companies is obviously we are very specialised in solo travellers in this demographic between 30 and 49. And it really does make a big difference, right? So when you turn up and everyone is very much at a similar stage of life as you, you're just way more likely to bond much quicker, and you're way more likely to go on and make long-term friends out of it. So on our tours, normally by about the second day, you can see everyone is just it's like you've known people for years and years. And I've seen so many people who have went on and become very good friends post-tour, and they travel together beyond that, and they just, if they're in the same cities, they're just hanging out together way beyond the trips. So I think that separates us probably from like 99% of other companies out there. And if you're in this demographic, I would say that's a big thing. Obviously there's some other companies in this space, and where I think we're a bit different is, you know, we're not some big corporate company, right? It's why I'm doing this video walking around the park, and I'm not doing some massive production. We don't have investors, we don't have shareholders, we don't have hundreds of staff that we have to pay. We don't really have to squeeze our margins, and we're not pushing to make lots of money. We're genuinely just trying to do really awesome trips. So I design all of our trips, and my first thought when I design the trips is always, what is the trip that I would like to do if I go to visit this place, and how do I make this trip as amazing as possible, right? I'm not cutting corners, I'm not thinking about how much money we make on it. Obviously, like, we're a business and we want to make some money, but the priority is always to really make the trip and the experience as amazing as possible for the people who come on it. And I think we do that. I think if you look at our feedback, if you look at the testimonials, if you look at the blogs that we've had people write for us, and often those people are people who have been with some of the other companies, you can see that they all say that it just felt a bit different on our tours. It felt a bit more personal, it felt a bit more intimate, it felt like a bit more thought had went into the tours. So I would say that really is what makes us a bit different, and why I would think we're a good option. But I genuinely mean it when I say any tour that you go on is going to be really good. So the biggest thing I would recommend is that you just, if you're nervous about it, it's very normal to be nervous about it, that you somehow just push yourself out of your comfort zone and you go do it, and I'm sure you won't look back. Hi, so I hope this video has been useful for you and has answered some of your questions. I would say if you still have some doubts or concerns, the first place I would go is just have a look through our testimonials, because I think that's a really good place for you to get a feel for what other people are saying about our trips. And then we've had lots and lots of people actually write very detailed blogs about their experience doing one of our tours. And if you still have questions, feel free either send us through an email and we're happy to answer, or you can even send an email and try to schedule a call. I'm happy, either myself or one of my team will be very happy to chat through any of the tours in more detail with you. Okay, thank you, bye.